All right, what's up, everyone? What's up, Fred? Good to see you. Hopefully, you can hear me all right. I've been having mic issues the last couple of days, but hopefully, this should work. Um, so, got like 10 people watching. What I'm working on today is the turnover set from Sound and Fury. So, if you missed the memo, I am working on the Sound and Fury videos from 2017. Unfortunately, Chris Avis, who filmed it, passed away in a car accident last July. His family recovered his hard drive, which I have somewhere here, and they sent it to me, basically to finish his unfinished work. So it's very bittersweet, but it's, I think, the best way to honor Chris's memory. So he actually only edited the free set. That was the first video he posted, but everything else is unedited. So I'm going through one by one and editing the remaining sets. So pretty much he filmed everyone. So it's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to get done. And again, it's I feel like the best way to honor Chris and hopefully keep his spirit alive and everything that he did with Sound and Fury. What's up, Dominic? Checking in from the Philippines. Good to see you. Cool to see that you like Turnover. So hopefully this will be an enjoyable stream for you to watch. I got like 18 people watching. That was sort of what I maxed out at yesterday. The first time I did this a couple weeks ago, or the first stream that I did early in the week, I hit like 40, and then yesterday was about like 20. So hopefully we can keep this shit going. So I'm just like getting a couple things ready here. Generally, the format for these live streams is pretty relaxed. It's basically just me standing in front of the computer editing. If you have questions or if you have comments, feel free to leave them in the chat, and I will tune it, or I'll take pauses every now and then to just answer questions and just shoot the shit with you guys. So what I've done so far is, let me pull it up here. A couple weeks ago, I actually went through and did a rough edit of the set. So basically here, if it wants to load, and I'll show you. Okay, so Chris had 4 cameras running for the turnover set. He had his angle, which was stage left. He had Robert from Ribsvit on stage right. He had this on the top right here corner, if you can see my mouse, he had a fixed camera sitting on a tripod facing the stage, which is a really cool shot. And then he had Jonathan Velasquez on in the balcony with sort of like a back of the room, but also angled down shot. So we have 4 angles that we're working with here. And this is like, it's a good set. It's low energy in the sense that there's not a lot of like stage diving or crazy like moshing or anything like that. So I feel like the cuts that I'm going to make are going to be much slower paced. Like, for example, if you're watching a video of Vane, and you know Vane is very erratic on stage, there's a lot of people moving around. Like, there's a lot of fast cuts between the angles because it sort of like complements the action. But for a turnover set, because it's much more mellow, I'm anticipating to use fewer cuts. But we'll see. I did a first pass on this 27-minute set. And so what I want to do today is basically go through and just double check that all the cuts that I wanted to make are right, and then make sure they're on time. If there's a cut that doesn't make sense, I'm gonna fix it and go back through and smooth it out a little bit more. So hopefully you'll see a little bit more of the process that's involved with doing these multicam productions. Just to like walk you through a little bit of what I've done beforehand is, so if I go here to sequence, so sequence 1 is basically all of the, so what we have here is we have this top track is Jonathan's balcony shot. Below that we have Robert's stage right shot. Below that we have the fixed shot from the back of the room. And below that we have Chris's stage left shot. And so as you can see, like some of these angles, they have like multiple files. You can see like the file break here. So one for this second angle up here for the stage right shot, there's a file that if I can highlight it, this here is the first file, and then it transitions into that's loud, into the second file. So typically what I do is the first step is to drop all of these into a sequence. And then if you've been tuning in, I've been talking about this a lot. I run this plugin called Pluralize, which will basically take all of these angles and it'll automatically sync them together. So basically what happens is each of these 4 camera angles, everyone probably hit record roughly around the same time, but not exactly. So one camera might be a few seconds delayed. Some of these jumps in the files might be due to the memory card ran out or the battery had to be replaced, so there might be some gaps in between some of these angles. So what Pluralize will do, it'll automatically sync everything, so you don't have to do any sort of manual adjustment. Because typically before Pluralize, what I would do is I would sync all the audio to like the drummer counting off on the sticks or hitting the hi-hat. The other thing is these 2 green tracks here are the audio sources. So all 4 camera angles had their own audio, but Chris also had a stereo output from the board, which I believe is, no, it's the track below it. Oh shit. So this bottom track here, if I can scroll down, is the soundboard track. And then above that is, Chris also had ambient mics running. So that's going to capture a lot of the crowd singing along and just like the ambient feel. So I've already applied some basic correction to these. I don't know if they're actually on here yet. Let me look that up. I don't know if I've mixed this one yet. Probably not. So that's going to be a step that I have to do. But we'll do that. I'll walk you through what I did with that. So basically, after you run Pluralize, you're going to get this synced sequence here. So it's you can see the name here. It's sequence1_synced. And as you can see, like if we zoom in at the beginning here, so originally all of the clips are just starting at the same point. But like I said, they're not synced. So after you run Pluralize, it'll adjust everything. So basically, Robert's camera here, which I have highlighted, starts at the 40-second, roughly the 40-second mark, and then Jonathan's camera starts at roughly the 1 minute and 5-second mark. So basically, Pluralize will handle shifting things over wherever it needs to be, just so it lines up perfectly. I've already done a little bit of adjustment on the audio, basically doing EQ and compression and mastering on the ambient mics and also on the board feed as well. So I did that for one of the other bands that played Sound and Fury, and I basically saved it as a preset, which I have up here somewhere. Yeah. So I'm gonna basically apply them, and we can listen to the before and after. So actually, let me do that now. I'm gonna mute my mic, and I'm gonna play the first couple seconds. The first couple seconds of the raw soundboard and raw ambient mics without any sort of adjustment. And then I'll apply the correction that I did, and you can get a sense of what that does. And basically, the adjustments that I do is I bump up the highs and lows and a little bit of the mids on the EQ, just to bring up. So from the high end, it brings up a little bit more of the vocals and more of the crowd sound. And the low end obviously picks up more of the bass and the kick drum and things like that. So what ends up happening is it just sounds like a much brighter sound. It's a much brighter feel. And for me, I prefer it because it makes you feel like, when you're watching the video, it makes you feel like you're actually there, and it's not like, I don't want the videos to sound like it's a CD recording. You know, I want you to feel like you're there and hearing, people screaming here and, things like that. So anyway, I'm gonna mute my mic. If you have questions, leave them in the chat, and I will I'll hop back on. But I'm going to play the first couple seconds of this set just so you can hear exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so hopefully that's what the audio sounds like as is, and basically it's the actually let me do this. I'll isolate the sources so you can actually hear it more. So you'll hear right now just the board feed, and then I'll disable that and play for you the ambient mic, and then you can actually hear the difference. All right, so hopefully you heard that. The first couple of seconds were just the board, so you probably heard that it was. It's a very good stereo soundboard recording, but you don't. It doesn't really capture the ambient feel of the venue and everyone in the room. So the second half of what you heard was the the ambient mic that Chris had, and that picks up more of the crowd and just like. A little bit more of the air, of the atmosphere that was actually in the room. So, like I said, I've already created a couple presets, which I'm basically just going to apply and maybe do some minor tweaking, but for the most part, we're going to leave them as is. So, so this top track is the ambient mic. So I'm going to just drop in this preset, and I'll show you what they actually are. The top one is the ambient, which is this preset, and then I'm going to drop in the soundboard preset below it. So just to show you what I'm doing a little bit here, I've done, so this is for the ambient mic. I've done this parametric EQ on the audio. So like I said, I tend to bump up the high quite a bit just to pick up more of the crowd and a little bit more of the vocals. And I bump up the low end just a little bit. I don't want the bass to overpower, but I do want I want there to be some sort of like meat and beefiness to the recording as well. Interestingly enough, I'm noticing that, so what I talked about, I think last stream or the episode before that, were some of these parameters. Basically this width, dictates, here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So as the audio is playing, I have it muted because I don't want to get any weird feedback, but if you look at this blue, so this whole blue wave here, this big blue thing that looks like an ocean, is it's the amplitude of the different frequencies in the audio. So so this high end is around like, it's currently set to 16,000 hertz. So you can bump up. If you pull this up, it pulls up the high end, or you can pull it down, and it brings down the low end. Brings down the high end. Can I undo that? No. one of the parameters is the width. So if you look at this 4 here, this is one of, I guess, the mid-range points that you can, pull up or pull down. One of the parameters that you can tune is this width here. So if I increase this value for Q, it narrows down. It basically focuses the frequency that you're working with here. So if I bump this up like really high, as you can see, this curve becomes a point, and what happens is I can control a specific, a much narrower range of frequencies. I can let's say there's a so if I'm working with a VHS tape, for example, there might be some background hiss, or that's just due to the nature of the format, or something with a defect in the VCR it's creating like a high pitched sound. So when you're looking at this signal, you're going to see like a high, basically a big line where the static is coming in. And what you can do, and there's multiple ways of doing this. You can use like a notch filter, or I think the parametric EQ could also do it. But you can basically, isolate the frequency where that is peaking and just pull it down. There might be a better way. Again, I'm going to keep making this disclosure every time I do one of these. I am not an audio engineer, so I'm sure that there are things that I'm doing or saying that are completely wrong. But I'm just doing things that I found that work well for me. Anyway, what I was saying is I typically keep these values for Q somewhere between 1.2 and 1.5. And so the opposite effect, instead of, like I said, if you bump up Q, it's gonna shrink down that range. But if you decrease it, it smoothens out the curve from really pointy to a really wide, a much wider range. And I sort of like a wider range because I feel like it's just much smoother. It's smooth for me. It feels like it smoothens out some of the tweaks that I'm making. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave it at 2, and I'll play for you what it sounds like as is. And so here's the so again, I do EQ on the board as well, and it looks fairly similar. Again, I bump up the highs, a little bit of low, and some of the mid. I got a couple comments here from people. Let me just respond to some folks. What's up, Jackson? Good to see you back. Dominic is asking, where do I place the ambient mic? So Chris had a very interesting approach. Chris would wear a hat when he would record shows, and he installed microphones into his hat, which I thought was really innovative. So if you, what's funny is if you look at Chris's logo for Cavis tapes, so his logo was a hat. He was always known to wear a hat basically when he filmed. Like that's Chris, and that was his hat that he wore. But if you look at his logo, and I thought this was brilliant. So this is his hat. That actually, that little thing in the center of the hat is a microphone, which I thought was cool. So he would literally keep microphones mounted in his hat to record the ambient sound, and I thought that was brilliant. So for me, what I do is I talked about this yesterday, but I'll talk about it again. I basically use a digital audio recorder. This is a Zoom H4n. I use this to record the ambient sound, and you can also plug in XLR if you want to get like a board feed. But what I normally do is I have one of these like screw mounts, which I just screw in underneath. So this is an older camera that I don't use anymore, but it's very similar to the one that I use now in terms of form factor. But basically, once this is screwed in, it mounts on the top, and basically pretty much most professional grade cameras will have a hot shoe mount at the top that you can basically slide this thing in if it wants to work like that. So that screws in, and so what I do is for a lot of the shows that I film, I keep the recorder mounted on top of the camera so that if I'm facing the band, you're going to hear more of the band, but if I'm facing more of the crowd, the mic is gonna sort of adjust for that. Well, it's gonna reflect that I'm panning away from the band and looking at the crowd. So if you're watching a video of mine and you hear like the amplitude change from being really loud towards the band and it's like decreasing, it's probably because I panned away. Some people will. I don't like keeping it near the soundboard for a couple reasons. If I keep it near the soundboard, and something happens, I won't know. If the batteries die or I need to restart it, like I won't know because I'm on stage. The other issue is if it's I've found that if I keep it by the soundboard, it picks up a lot of people talking. So it's funny, even though a show is really loud, the further you get back, obviously the less loud the sound is. So every time I record something and I keep it by the soundboard, I end up picking up a lot of the conversations that people near the soundboard are having. Like whether it's the sound guy talking to someone or someone right in front of the soundboard talking to their friend, like it picks up everything. So I end up just keeping it next to me. Ideally, I feel like the best place to put it might be like maybe hanging from the ceiling in front of the stage, just so it's like centered and you're sort of away from people talking, but you're also, if it's angled correctly, you can hear obviously all of the band, but you can also pick up some of the crowd as well. So maybe ideally the best place to have it is like above the crowd facing down towards the stage. I don't know. That's something I've always wanted to experiment with and I haven't really had the chance to do it, but that's my intuition, is that would be the best place to do it. What's good? What's up, Pink, my fucking guy? Good to see you. Ishmael is asking what software this is. I'm using Adobe Premiere Creative Cloud 2018. So I've always been a Premiere guy. I've never used Final Cut. I was using CS 5.5 for a couple years, then I switched to 2018 a couple months ago, and I love it. So big fan of it. Weekend at the Fire Academy, checking in from Norway. Thanks for tuning in. I would love to come to Norway to some point. I would love to, I don't know if there's a big scene in Norway. If there is, I would love to come out and shoot. Hopefully one day, that'll be me. Thanks Dominic for the feedback. Like I said, part of the motivation for these live streams is to, one, show people like what I'm working on, but to also answer questions. Like if people have questions about how I do something, like I'm happy to answer it. It's funny. Yesterday I was walking through something, and someone who was tuned in was like, "Oh, you should try this. It's actually faster," and they were right. So I want this to be a two-way learning experience. So if there's anything that I can help you with, feel free to ask me. If you see that I'm doing something completely wrong or inefficient, please let me know. I've found things that work well for me, but that doesn't mean that what I say is gospel. So if there are things that you think I should do better, please let me know, and I will be eternally grateful for your insight. Anyway, that's a lot of talking from me. Actually, so what I wanted to do, I want to play for you the audio with the adjustments that I've made. So I'll play a little bit of that, and then I'm going to go into the editing. So I'll shut up, and you can actually watch more of the set without interruption. So I'm going to mute the mic. I'm going to play a couple seconds of it with the adjustments that I made. I might pull up the EQ again and tweak it a little bit more. Like I said, I feel like I might decrease the width on those frequency bands, but yeah. So I'll play it, and then I may or may not tweak the audio. But if you watch what's going on the screen, you'll hopefully see exactly what I'm doing.
Time, never right, be attention, Show me why you're always smiling, laughing and make me fall in love. Oh, take me where you want to go. If it can start without you, I will make it up. I don't think I'll make it out. I wanna run and hide with you tonight. I know that I can make it out. With you, I know I'll make it out. Let me know your secrets. Tell me how you cover all the empty space. Drawn outside the lines, your world's a vibrant illustration. Chasing you, I'm falling through.
All right, so I'm pretty happy with where the audio is roughly for now. So I'm going to switch over to the multicam. So what I do is, just to walk people through this who might be interested. So this sequence 1 underscore synced is the sequence that has all of the audio and video already synced together. And again, I'm using this plugin called Pluralize to do it. So Pluralize will automatically sync everything for you. So once everything's synced, I have another timeline here, which I call MC for multicam. And I drop in, here, maybe I'll just show you exactly the process. I'll just call this MC test for now. So MC test is this empty sequence, and what I do is I drop in this synced sequence. And what happens is, so in Premiere, in most nonlinear editors, you'll have this this option to do multicam editing. So if you right-click the sequence and go to multi-camera and click enable, it'll bring up this screen here on the top left. And so if I fast forward a little bit, you'll see, where's it at? Here we go. So if you fast forward a little bit, once all the other angles are lined up and turned on, they show up on the screen. So I'm gonna mute the audio again, so you're not getting weird feedback. But as you're playing, you can watch all 4 of these angles in real time. So when I'm doing a multicam edit, I have to stand here and watch all of these cameras simultaneously. And then you can either use your mouse to like click. So again, this left side is all 4 angles already synced up, and on the right is what's currently being sent to the output. So I can sit here and click. You can also use your keyboard. I prefer using a keyboard. You can just press like the number pad, like 1, 2, 3, or 4. Will cut between camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4, and so forth. So when I'm doing a multicam cut, I'm basically just sitting here making these cuts however I see fit. And so when you stop, you notice down here on the timeline, there's a bunch of these cuts. And each of these cuts now corresponds to when I switched angles in the monitor. So if we play it back, here, let me play it back from around here. So we can play it back, and we can watch that it's doing the cuts that it basically records the cuts that you make. So that's how multicam editing works. You have a sequence of basically synced up audio and video, and then you nest. It's called nesting it. You nest that sequence into another sequence. You enable the multicam setting on that nested sequence, and then you can sit here and watch the synced angles, and you can cut between them. So there's a couple questions here. Let's see. What's up, Jesse from Jesse McLaughlin from Toronto? Thanks for checking in. Jackson is asking how pluralize works. So I don't know exactly the algorithm that they use, but I think I have a general idea of what they do. I tried building a plugin to do it before I realized pluralize was a thing. I tried writing my own app to do it. So I think there's a couple ways of doing it. It's an area called digital signal processing, and so basically what you have to do is pluralize, or whatever app you're using is looking for the correlation between two audio signals. So you have an audio signal is basically a time series of points, and at each, at like second 0, there's a frequency at this amplitude. At second 1, there's more frequencies at this other amplitude. So it's a time series. It's a series of frequencies that evolves over time. So you can think of it as like a sequence of numbers, basically. So what pluralize does is, so for one audio track, it has a sequence of numbers. For another audio track, it has another sequence of numbers. So what you can compute is, you can compute how correlated those two signals are, those two sequences of numbers. If the two sequences are completely lined up, then they have perfect identical correlation. But let's say for example you have two sequences of numbers or two audio signals, and one, one starts at 0 seconds and the second recording starts at like 10 seconds later. So there's gonna be a 10-second delay between the first track and the second track. So what the algorithm likely does, it probably computes the distance between these two tracks based off of their correlation. So these two tracks are correlated, but there's the algorithm determines that there's a 10-second delay or 10-second gap between how correlated these angles are. So it basically says, okay, in order to make sure that these two signals have a perfect correlation, this top track needs to be adjusted over by 10 seconds. So it slides it over. So what I think pluralize does, it analyzes all of the audio signals and it tries to align them basically. It basically says, okay, I have this reference track and these other tracks line up only if I move them over, X number of seconds. And it does that for every clip in the sequence. So I think, I mean, cross correlation is one way to do it. There might be more efficient ways to do it by looking. So there's something called it's called dynamic time warping, which is basically a way of aligning two signals. So it's used a lot in speech processing. So if you're using like voice to text or any sort of voice recognition software, there's an algorithm called dynamic time warping. If you're interested, you can read about it, and it's basically a way of computing the distance or how similar two audio signals are. So I don't know if pluralize is using dynamic time warping or cross correlation, but those are the two ways that I know to do it. And there's probably, again, I am not a digital signal processing specialist, but I think that's roughly, those are some of the ways that you can actually do it. Cool. So that's how the multicam stuff works. So what like I said, what I've already done is I've already created. I spent like an hour a couple weeks ago just going through and doing a multicam cut of turnover. So what I'm trying to do today is basically review all of these cuts and make sure that they're timed correctly.
Damn, son. Damn, son.
Oh, we got a super chat. This is my first super chat from someone. So who is this? This is Ruben. Love your style. Makes me feel like you're at the show. Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you for the donation. So I don't know if you heard it, but I set up Streamlabs to basically play like audio, basically like funny audio clips, or play like an animated GIF anytime someone donates or pledges or says something in the super chat. So hopefully you heard it. I have not had a chance to test Streamlabs, so hopefully you guys saw Ruben's message. So thank you again for that. I appreciate it. And just to plug it again, So there's a link at the bottom for my Patreon. So I'm trying to do hate5six full time now. For the last 10 years, I've been working as a software developer and doing hate5six part time. And I got laid off in January, and I'm trying to do hate5six full time. And in order to do that, I'm trying to ask viewers who watch my stuff to basically make recurring donations every month. If you can afford $1, $2, $5, whatever it is, and whatever you're comfortable with, that would be incredibly helpful. Small donations from a lot of people will definitely add up. And I want to get to the point where, I mean, people are always asking me like, hey, come to the Philippines to shoot a show, or come to Oregon to film a show, or come to Texas. And I want to get to the point where if my Patreon takes off, I want to be at the point where, you know, middle of the week I can go fly to Texas to shoot a band playing their first show or something like that. So I really want to try doing what I've done with hate5six part-time, but I want to push it to completely new levels that I have not been able to do before, that I haven't been able to do because I'm juggling a 9 to 5. So donations are really helpful for making that a reality. And if you, I don't want to talk more about it right now, but if you go on the Patreon, you can read about the benefits that you get. So if you are a subscriber on Patreon, I'll send you stickers. You'll get early access to certain videos. You'll have the power to actually vote for what videos come out every day. So moving forward, I want hate5six to be a very like democratic and very community-driven thing. So hopefully people are into the Patreon idea. So thank you again for that. Oh shit, we got Feet First Productions tuned in. I gotta plug those guys real quick. So Feet First Productions, if you don't know, check them out on YouTube. It's Feet First. If you scroll up in the chat, you'll see them. It's Jeff Davis and Andy Peck, two guys from Wilkes-Barre in Pennsylvania. They shoot a lot of shows, a lot of stuff in the Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area. They come to Philly a lot too. They travel a ton for shows, and they do really amazing work. I've had the chance to shoot with those guys a bunch of different shows we've collaborated on. They helped with This Is Hardcore last year. And actually, Jeff was hanging out with me last week. He had to drop over a memory card, and he was telling me to try YouTube, the YouTube live stream. I was doing Twitch, and Twitch wasn't taking off, but he was really like, "Yo, you should do the YouTube thing. Just try it out. You'll probably pick up more traction there." So, yeah. So hopefully this does take off. I already have way more engagement here than on Twitch, so. I don't know if that's because Twitch is more for gaming or what, but I appreciate it. So again, check out Feet First Productions. Make sure you subscribe to those guys. They film a lot of stuff that I can't make it out to, and they film hardcore shows, but they also film a lot of like indie rock, singer-songwriters, acoustic stuff, a lot of stuff that that's not that I don't like it, but it's stuff that I don't have time to shoot myself. So definitely check them out. Let's see what we got here. So Itchy Gizzards is asking if I position my mic to 120. So just a quick note on that. What I'm using now to talk to you guys is the H6, but my old recorder was the H4n. And there's sort of settings on here. You can basically rotate these mics to either 90 degrees or 120. And that basically controls the sort of like the width of the sensitivity of the microphone. So if it's at 90 degrees, it's like, you can think of it like a 90-degree angle here. So it's very narrow, but you can actually widen it to 120. I like keeping it at 120, mostly because I pan a lot, and I sort of want to, if I'm panning away from, if the band is to the left and the crowd is to the right, I typically use 120 because if I'm panning towards the band, I still want to have some range picking up a little bit of the crowd. So if it's very narrow, if it's like a 90-degree angle instead, then if it's at 90 degrees, I'm basically gonna pick up more of the band and less of the crowd. So I'm trying to retain as much of the crowd as I can while I'm still pointing at the band. So I personally leave it at 120. Some people might like it at 90, but it might be personal preference. I just personally prefer leaving it at 120. At the moment, I'm not planning on shooting the Rumble, mostly because I'm trying to get all of the Sound and Fury stuff done in April. So that's the reason why I didn't shoot Damage City and why I did not shoot, one of the reasons why I didn't shoot United Blood was I'm trying to get all the Sound and Fury stuff done. I have not gotten in touch with Andy Chicomac from Montreal. I did get in touch with Sebastian Lapointe from Montreal. He sent me a bunch of tapes which I've been digitizing. So I don't know if he's in touch with Sebastian, but I do accept tapes. I'm kind of getting overwhelmed right now with tape submissions, so I may not respond to every request right now, but I will try to get to them as soon as I can. Anyway, I'm going to go back to editing the set. So like I said, I already have a rough edit done of the multicam. So I'm going to play it just so you guys can see what I've already done, and I'm going to basically be making adjustments and fine-tuning the cuts that I've already made to it. And again, Turnover had a good set, but it's compared to like Turnstile or Vane, it's not as crazy. There's not as many stage dives or people going off, so the cuts are not going to be as frenetic. So for like Vane, I tend to like cut a lot, very fast cuts, because it complements how intense the set is. But for Turnover, I'm going to want them to be much slower, less frequent cuts. So that's what I'm going to be looking for as I play this back. I want to make sure that I'm not. I want the cuts to complement the feel and the vibe of the set. So I'm gonna mute this shit so I can keep editing. We got pink motherfucker guy from Singapore. Always cool to see people from Singapore on here. But anyway, I'm gonna mute my shit and I'm gonna unmute the audio so you can actually enjoy this sneak peek at Turnover, which if I can get it done today, it should be out tomorrow. So let's see if I can actually get it done. So one thing I do want to point out here, all right, someone on Twitter is saying they can't hear me. Hopefully you guys can hear me. He's saying my volume is low, so let me turn up my volume a little bit. Hopefully that's better. I don't know, maybe not. One thing that I did notice with the Sound and Fury stuff, if you look at the, let me zoom in a little bit. If you look at this this angle on the right, there's a lot. If you look closely, there's flicker that's going on. You can see like black. It's just sort of a flickering pattern. And what I think is happening is the shutter speed of the camera probably did not match the frequency of the light. So the light flickers at a certain frequency, maybe like 60 hertz or something. And so if the shutter speed of the camera does not sync up, you're going to get this flickering pattern. And that happens a lot. So if you don't believe me, just like point a camera at a TV or something, you'll see like flickering that's going on there. So there are ways of getting rid of flicker. I'm not too good at it. I did try messing with some plugins yesterday or the day before. There's one called Flicker Free, which I tried, but I did not really have much success with it. So media pending, yeah. So this is a demo version of the app, and it adds this sort of watermark, but what I found was that it wasn't really working that well. So unfortunately, I might just have to leave the flicker in there, unless someone has a better idea. But anyway, the takeaway here is if you're shooting a show or shooting anything, the more you can handle during your shoot, the better in terms of saving you time during post-production. So if you notice that you have flicker in your video while you're filming, make sure you check your shutter speed, because otherwise you'll be left with this problem when you're editing. And there are certain things you can handle in post-production to resolve problems, but there are other things like this that are much more difficult to resolve. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that here. So, okay. All right, so I'm gonna go back to editing. Like I said, I don't wanna have too many interruptions, but let's do this.
Just ignore the goosebumps on your neck, the namesake of your outfit to keep you warm. It's hard to see, but I remember. You wore a cocktail dress, ignore the goosebumps on your neck, the namesake of your outfit to keep you warm. Namesake of your outfit to keep you warm. Namesake of your outfit to keep you warm.
All right, so what's happening here is this balcony shot tends to it's overshooting what's happening. So I think the Jonathan was panning over and he overshot it. I mean that can happen. He may have gotten bumped into or got distracted. That happens to me all the time. So I don't know if I want to use this shot because it definitely takes away from the focus on the band. So I'm trying to, the reason why I'm like playing it and rewinding it and playing it and rewinding is I'm looking at the multicam monitor and I'm trying to see what other angles are good ones to cut to. So I'm coming from the stage right, and so then I cut to this back of the room shot. And then I wanted to cut to the balcony shot, but unfortunately it starts to overshoot. So I might cut back to, or actually I might cut to Chris's angle actually. So Chris was stage right. So let me do that. We'll let that run. That's not bad. And then it'll, I guess he had a setting change here. If you notice, like it goes from really bright to dark. He may have changed his exposure at some, like right at that point on his camera. So I don't want that in the shot. So what I'm gonna have to do is make another cut here. And then maybe here I can cut to the balcony. I don't know. Let's see what the balcony shot looks like here. So if you play it back, stage right. Yeah, that's a little. So Jonathan was panning, and then he was basically panning and pulling the camera back, or panning and zooming out. That's a little too much movement for. So this part of the song is very like low. It's very soft and not a lot of, just very mellow. So I personally don't think it makes sense to have a lot of motion at this point. So what I'm gonna do is probably get rid of that cut and then extend this over, which is the stage right shot. But the problem now is this is a really long stage right shot. Anyway, I'm going to play it back, these changes that I've just made, and then I'm going to have to fix this a little bit more.
It's hard to see, but I remember. stress. Ignore the goosebumps on your neck. The namesake of your outfit to keep you warm.
Cool. So that was the first song, first like almost 4 minutes of the song. So hopefully you got a sense of what I was doing. I was basically seeing whether the So again, I did one pass of this multicam cut like a couple weeks ago. So what I'm doing now is making sure that all of those cuts make sense. So as I pointed out, there were a couple shots where the camera was moving too much and it just didn't make sense given the music. So I basically removed that cut, replaced it with something else, and then had to adjust some of the later cuts just so it flowed a little bit more smoothly. So that was a brief sort of walkthrough of that process. And I get one of the other things that I was doing was timing the cuts on beat with the music. So I was making sure that the cuts were timed up with the kick drum or timed up with certain transitions in the music. So we got a couple people. We got some new people tuned in. Let's see what we got here. Dominic, thanks so much for signing up on Patreon. Again, I really appreciate that. Like I said, a little bit of support from a lot of people is going to help make this a reality. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Jackson is asking about max volume silence. So yes, if you don't know Max Volume Silence live on YouTube, definitely check that out. It used to be called Pit Full of Shit. It's run by Frank Huang, who is a really, really great guy. I think he still lives in Brooklyn. And I think he's now helping out at Relapse, maybe? He does a lot of like metal and grind shows and stuff like that. So check out his stuff. He films a lot in like Brooklyn, and it's really high quality. So it's Max Volume Silence Live. Check it out for sure. Yomar Juarez, hopefully I said your name. Salud from Venezuela. Good to see you. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name. I apologize if I did. Again, I'm using Adobe Premiere. This is version CC 2018. I made the switch a couple months back, maybe like 2 months ago, and I made the switch from CS 5.5. So if you're a Premiere user and you're thinking about making the switch, I highly recommend it. Cool. So I'm gonna keep going. Hopefully this is enjoyable. Hopefully people are like either learning something or just enjoying watching a little bit more of the editing process. So part of the goal with the there are several reasons for doing the live stream. One, it's to show people like what's coming up. Two, like I said, it's to have this be like a conversation to show people how to do things. Or if someone has advice for me, I'm 100% receptive to it. But also just to peel back the curtain a little bit, because hate5six, again, this is my 2018 is my 10th year of running the site, so I want to demystify it a little bit more and show people like behind the scenes stuff, like what's actually going on, because I think people have been curious and I've been wanting to share a little bit more about what I'm doing. What's up, Beneath 9 from Denmark? Thanks for tuning in. So if you're just tuning in, I'm working on Turnover set from Sound and Fury last. It was July of 2017. So in the process of doing this edit, so I want to keep on going. So we're again about 4 minutes into this 27-minute set, and let's see how far we can get.
Thank you very much, California. This is my favorite place on earth. Thank you for the warm welcome. I know there's a diverse group of bands on this show, which is very, very cool. I know we're among the most different, so thank y'all for being here and giving us something. Thank you. Thank you very much, California. This is my favorite place on earth. Thank you for the warm welcome. I know there's a diverse group of bands on this show, which is very, very cool. I know we're among the most different, so thank y'all for being here and giving us something. The song's called Humming. The song's called Humming.
All right, I got to take a quick break for a second. So this is a little bit. So this is the kind of shit that I'm dealing with. But it gives you a sense of some other stuff that I work on here. So my friend Kevin is trying to promote an H2O show that's coming up. So H2O is playing in Philly, and he wants to use a clip of an old hate5six video to basically post on Instagram. So I told him to, I'll show you. Pull it up on my screen here, 1 second. So if you're not familiar, so it's funny, like I have a lot of YouTube subscribers, and I don't know how many people only watch stuff on YouTube and how many people actually go on my site itself. So maybe this is like going to be an introduction for some people. So I recently added these two apps here, these two orange buttons. So if you subscribe on Patreon and you're subscribing, like I think it's like $5 per month, you have access to these two apps. So they're called hate5clip and hate5gif. And what they'll do is hate5gif, for example, it'll create an you can take any video on the site and create an animated GIF of any clip, basically. I say GIF. Some people say GIF. The author of the format calls it GIF, but I still call it GIF. Anyway, so anyway, if you click on hate5clip here, it brings up this web app. And here, like it already populated the field, but you can basically enter in the URL for the video, and you can pick the starting time. So, like, let's say that starting at the 28-second mark. Whoa, you might get some feedback there. Starting at the 28-second mark, we want to create a 30-second video clip. So what you do is, again, if you subscribe on Patreon, then you can actually use your Patreon email here, and you click generate. And so this says your request is being processed. So what's happening is, I have a server running that will automatically create a 30-second clip starting at the 28-second mark, and then it'll send you an email that you can then download the video clip and then share it on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want. So this is a way for people to share any funny moment or any special moment that they want from any video that I have on the site. But anyway, Kevin, for some reason, ran into an issue. He couldn't get this to work. So yeah, last night I basically manually sent him a clip that I created. I sent him a 90-second clip of this H2O show. I'll play the clip for you just so you have a sense of what I'm talking about. So I sent him this audio clip, which is a 90-second video clip of H2O playing in Philly 10 years ago. So he just hit me up and said it doesn't work. He's using an older version of Instagram, or his iPhone's outdated, and the video clip needs to be 60 seconds in order for it to be shared. So what I'm going to do is I use a program called FFmpeg. If you're not familiar with it, I highly, highly recommend it. If you're any sort of video producer or do any type of video content, and if you're comfortable with using like a command line interface, which is what this black screen is, FFmpeg is probably the most powerful video tool you could ever ask for. It's the Swiss Army knife for doing any sort of video task. So I highly recommend learning how to use it. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up FFmpeg, which is this executable. Hopefully you can see this. I don't know if this is big enough. I don't know if I can make the font size bigger. Font. There you go. Now you should be able to see it. So I have FFmpeg stored in this location, which is C FFmpeg bin FFmpeg.exe. Input is going to be the H2O set. So this is the this H2O underscore NTP, which is nothing. It's the clip for Nothing to Prove by H2O. It's a 90-second clip. I want to start it at the 0-second mark, and I want to trim it to basically 60 seconds. So then I'm going to dump this out to, I don't know, I'll just call it like H2O clip.mp4 and hit enter. So what's happening now is FFmpeg, if you look down at the bottom, it is processing this video. So it's at 46 seconds, 52 seconds, and it's done. So what happens is it automatically created this H2O underscore clip that is a 60-second trim of this video. So hopefully this works for him. So what I'm going to do is let me send this to him right now. Let's see if this works. Again, so if you're new to video, or you're looking for a new tool, I highly recommend using FFmpeg. I use it a lot. I use it a lot behind the scenes of hate5six, and so I would not be able to do a lot of what I do without it. So that's sending. I want to make sure he gets it, and then we'll be good to go. Good to resume. Where are we at? We're down to 11 people. I think I'm boring some people with some of the technical shit. So gonna answer some more questions. Yeah, FFmpeg will give you Linux flashbacks for sure. Decrepit Crescendo is asking if I use Handbrake. I used to use Handbrake a lot. I used Handbrake for many years, and then there were a couple other things I needed to do that FFmpeg was good for, so I ended up just moving completely over to that. I think Handbrake actually uses FFmpeg under the hood. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Handbrake is basically a wrapper around FFmpeg with it's a very nice UI and very handy. But I just got very comfortable with using command line stuff. So I don't know if FFmpeg has a GUI, but maybe it does, and I don't know about. Cool, Itchy Gizzards. I'm glad that people like the technical shit. So I'm hoping that I can do more of the technical stuff with these live streams. So just to go into more of the detail that I don't really get to talk about on Twitter or wherever. So anyway, yeah, if you again, if you want to use these apps, you totally can. They are on the site. They're on the bottom right-hand corner of every video. Again, and so creating a GIF is also exactly the same. You can basically, you know, let's say we want to, fuck it, I'll just show you how it works. So let's, here, this is one of my favorite foundation sets from May. This was at the Rainfest pre-show in 2015. If you like foundation, I highly recommend checking this one out. So, let's say we're watching the video and like we're about, let's see. All right, let's say at the 1 minute 45 second mark, let's say we want to get a animated GIF of this person singing along. So what we'll do is we'll click on hate5 GIF. It'll automatically load this URL in. We type in the starting point, which is 1 minute 45, and let's say we want a 6 second long animated GIF. We'll send it to my email. You can enter in your email if you're a Patreon subscriber. You click on generate. It says your request is being processed, and then in a couple minutes we will get an email with the download link. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go back to editing this set. Oh wait, actually, I already got the email. We're good to go. So I'll show you. You get an email that looks like this. Basically, where are we at? So it says the clip you requested is available for download. Click here. So it's a link to Google Drive. You click that. It'll download. Wait a minute. It's this one, this bottom one here. You click it. It'll download, and if you open it up, let's just open it up in IE. So it's going to bring up the animated GIF, and that's it. So we have an animated GIF of that section of the video, and now you can share this on Twitter or wherever you want, on Facebook. Interestingly enough, I have a Twitter bot so I have a Twitter bot basically called hate5 GIFs on Twitter, and it'll automatically post the GIFs that people are creating in real time. So this is already on Twitter. So I'm just going to reshare it from the hate5six account. So let's share that, and there you go. Now we have a cool animated GIF on Twitter, and that's something that you can post on Facebook or wherever you want. And again, you can also do that with clips, not just GIFs. So that's that. Maybe one day I'll do like a walkthrough about how basically I'm using FFmpeg on a server to do all that. So that is why I swear by FFmpeg. Cool. Anyway, I'm going to go back to editing the set, and hopefully you guys find this cool. And again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the chat, and I'll probably take a break every couple songs to just answer people's questions.
Positively unattached, not even unattracted to the fun. You made me with your lack of interest, one who wants a full and different song. Wants a full and different song. Show me why you're song. Song. You made me with your lack of interest, one who wants a full and different song. told me why you're always smiling. Laugh again and make me fall in love.
Cool. So that was another song. So we're now at like the 8-minute mark. Just gonna answer a couple questions here. Yeah. So Decrepit Cat Crescendo is suggesting Sox. I've used Sox a couple times to do some basic things like swapping audio channels, but I've been wanting to dig into it more. So from my limited experience, I think it's an important tool that people should definitely check out. Yeah, so Beneath Nine, thanks for tuning in. I did go into a little bit of the audio stuff. So for the Sound and Fury stuff, the audio sources are a stereo soundboard feed and some ambient mics, and basically I mixed them together. So this stream will be available on the channel once it's done. So you can go back and watch the beginning of it once it's up. Once the archive version is up, and you can hear me talk about the audio recording. I don't want to repeat it too much because I think some people have already heard it. But yeah, definitely check back when that is up on the site. I'm going to be doing these live streams a lot, so I'll end up talking about everything from the audio to the video stuff and everything in between a lot, pretty frequently on these streams. But for now, I'm not going to go back into the audio. So we're still hovering at around 11 people, which is cool. So if you're in it for the long haul, thank you so much. My camera battery is about to die, so I'm going to turn it off real quick. You should still see my screen capture, but you might not see me for a second because I do need to swap out the battery. So give me a second.
This is our first time ever at Sound and Fury, so thank you to Martine and Riley and all of you for having us here. This is our first time ever at Sound and Fury, so thank you to Martine and Riley and all of you for having us here.
All right. I'm hoping we're back up. Let's see what we got. What we got. All right. All right. Can you guys hear me now?
We're back up.
Hopefully we're
see
good.
what we got,
I
what
lost
we
the
got, what we
video,
got.
but I think
All right.
there should still be
all
sound.
right, can you guys hear me now?
We're
back up.
Hopefully you.
Hell
we're
yeah,
good.
okay, cool.
I lost the video, but I think.
So that's not AC that you hear. That's actually
There
my
should
computer.
still be
Can you
sound.
guys hear me now?
I think I can show you.
Hell yeah.
We're good.
Okay, cool.
I lost the video, but I think.
So that's
So
not
that's
AC
my
that you
computer.
hear. That's
It's an
actually my
open air
computer.
case,
Alright,
so
it's very
Hell yeah,
loud.
okay, cool. I lost the
And
video.
so that's what you're hearing. It's not AC.
So that's
You're
not
actually,
my computer.
It's
It's an
actually
open
my
air
computer.
case,
You're actually hearing.
so,
It's very
the
loud.
fans on my
And
computer.
so that's what you're hearing. It's not.
So that's
AC.
why.
That's
So
not
that's
my computer.
and you can see my shitty ass green
hearing,
screen, but
it's very loud.
fans
It
does the trick.
So that's what you're hearing. It's
anyway,
not-
I don't know what happened. I think it's probably because I
Um,
killed the
you can see
my
my
shitty
shitty
ass
mic
mic
briefly.
briefly. Oh, by the way, this is
But
my.
it's very loud.
So this is the old Zoom that I use, the H4n, and this is the
I
H6
don't
that
know
I
what
use
happened. I
now.
think it's probably 'cause I killed
much,
the,
much
my
nicer,
shitty
a
ass
lot
mic
more
briefly.
input. By the way, this is
Um,
my.
I feel
This
that
is
has
the
better,
old
better
Zoom
mic.
that I use, the H4n, and this is the
I
H6
don't know
that
what
I
happened. I
use
think probably 'cause
now.
I killed the,
Much nicer,
shitty ass
a lot
mic
more
briefly.
input.
By the
You're
way,
getting a
this is
loop
my-
delay. That's weird. Tons of delay echo. I wonder from what. I have all my shit. I turned off all the monitors, so you shouldn't hear anything coming out of the speakers. Let me know if it's still coming through. Okay, it went away. Sweet. Sorry about that. I guess every now and then there's going to be some technical issues. But, so what I was saying was, by the way, thank you for helping me work through that. Right, so what I was saying was that for a while I used to edit through headphones, and then it worked all right, but what I noticed was that, you know, headphones sound a certain way, and then if you play it back on a TV or on a phone, like every speaker is different, so it's going to sound different from the source that you use to edit with. So a couple years I got some donations together, and I bought these M Audio monitors, very cheap. I mean, not cheap. I mean, they were low-end studio monitors I got from Guitar Center. It's the BX5As that I got. So I've been using those for the last 5 years. So again, that's another example of donations being put to work. So I posted online. I was like, oh, I would like to get studio monitors if anyone wants to donate. And then people like got together and donated some money, and I was able to get nice studio monitors. And that I've been using those to produce more of the content that people love. So that's another example of donations being put to good use. So hopefully that answers your question. So I prefer using the monitors. So if I use the headphones, I wouldn't have to worry about the weird delay in feedback, the delay in the feedback that I'm getting. But because I prefer using the monitors, I have to keep killing the mic and making sure things are off and you're not getting any weird feedback. Anyway, let's keep going. Again, we're about almost at the 9-minute mark of this 27-minute set, so we're making pretty good progress. So let's keep going. So far, I'm pretty happy with it. Again, I don't think I've ever seen Turnover, so I'm hoping I can personally see them live. But this video is a cool, at least for me, it's a cool way to enjoy them. So let's keep going.
This is our first time ever at Sound and Fury, so thank you to Martine and Riley and all of you for having us here.
Cool. So we're at the 13-minute mark. We are just about halfway done. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully there's no weird echo feedback. Just gonna go through some more questions here, comments. Yeah. Oh, cool. I had no idea Turnover played in the Philippines, in Manila. That's awesome. I would love to come there at some point. So one of the things, I don't know if you were tuned in at the beginning of the stream, but what I was saying was, if my Patreon takes off, if I'm basically able to live off Patreon, then I'm going to be much more free and willing to travel wherever to film shows. So right now, I'm trying to make Patreon work, and I'm trying to be able to pay my basic bills with it. But if it turns out to be a success, then I'm going to be able to travel more to shoot shows. So hopefully, we get to the point where I can actually come to the Philippines and shoot something. That'd be really cool. How long does it take to finish one set? So yesterday, I was on YouTube Live yesterday and the day before working on a couple of videos. If it's just a single camera and I'm just using a external audio source, or like the mic. If it's just a single camera, I can maybe do. I think I got like 10 videos done in like 2 or 3 hours, roughly. I need to actually time it, but it's roughly about maybe a couple hours to do 10 sets. For something like this, so this has like multiple cameras. There's like multiple audio feeds that need to be adjusted. So this is like a 30-minute set. This is going to take me a couple hours to do. So it really depends on the type of video. Is it a multi-camera edit? Is there like a soundboard feed? Some soundboard feeds I need to have like an engineer mix and master for me. So it depends. So again, like on the low end, I can get like a set edited in like 20 minutes if it's just a single camera. But if it's a multi-camera shoot, then it's at least as long as the video. So in this case, this is a 27-minute set. At the bare minimum, it's going to take me 27 minutes, but I end up having to rewatch the video a couple times to make sure that all the cuts are good, which is what I'm doing now. So a multicam cut can take at least 2 or 3 times the length of the set, I would say. So this is a 27-minute set. So I would say this is going to, all in all, this would probably take me an hour and a half-ish to edit, roughly, if without any breaks, without any discussions. So yeah. So I always do. I don't know if it's Jeff or Andy commenting on from Feet First, but I always do at least 2 passes on the multicam, at least 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, just to make sure that everything. It's only because I'm very anal and very particular that I'm like a perfectionist with my multicam cuts. So I do at least 2, maybe 3 passes. I try to get through as many videos a day as I can. So now that I'm trying to do hate5six full time, I'm trying to spend as many hours a day editing as I can. So it's becoming a grind, but it's becoming like second nature for sure. Oh, it's Jeff. What's up, Jeff? Thanks for tuning in. Jackson is asking if I would switch to Linux. Yeah, so I use Linux for a lot of my software development. So I'm very comfortable in Linux, but pretty much the only thing keeping me on a PC is Premiere. So, and maybe a couple other things, but for the most part, if there was a good port of Premiere on Linux, I would probably make the switch. Let's see. Oh, someone was asking if I actually enjoy doing the live streams, and yes. So this is like my 4th or 5th time doing it, but these are pretty fun to do. It's nice to just like see people tuning in and answering questions. Like I said, I want this to be interactive and like I want this to feel like a community. So I'm definitely having fun showing people more of the process and answering questions, and also asking you guys for feedback. So yeah, this is cool, and I really hope I can keep doing this. Yeah, I think if gaming were better on Linux, it would be great. I've never used Arch. That's interesting. I've basically used Ubuntu. I used Red Hat for a little bit. I think I messed with Debian a little bit here and there. In different flavors, obviously, of shit. Damn, you want me to sing some Code Orange? I can't do that. That's just a lot of screaming into a mic. I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruin my voice. When are we getting a Title Fight set? Well, I mean, Title Fight hasn't played in a while, so I don't know. I don't know if they're on hiatus. I mean, if they come back, I would film them. But if you go on the site, which I'll pull up here, there are a bunch of Title Fight sets. So the last time I filmed Title Fight was January of 2017, so over a year ago. But I have a good number of Title Fight sets on the site, and I think I have one, maybe two basement sets. I have one basement set. They played in Philly 2 years ago in April. 2 years ago this April. So if Basement comes back, I would definitely film. I think they're all based in London. Is that right? Or the UK? I really enjoyed shooting them. So if they come back, I would definitely film them. And same with Title Fight is one of my favorite bands to film for sure. They're super nice. They have high energy. There's a lot of people stage dive and go off for them, so it's always a fun band to film. So definitely want to see them again. Title Fight at This Is Hardcore 2012. Which one was that? That was yeah. I think that was the year they headlined, maybe. This one at the Electric Factory. That was a good set. That was cool. So I had no idea Basement was recording a new album, so that's good to hear. Anyway, we are at the 13-minute mark of this set, and I'm going to keep going. Usually once I get to the halfway point, it tends to speed up a little bit. Oh, Basement is playing in Philly with Citizen. Interesting. I did not hear about that. Jeff, are you shooting that? I'm assuming you guys probably are. And I'm assuming that's at the TLA, if I had to guess. I don't know. Or Union Transfer. So yeah, that's where we're at now. So I'm gonna keep going with this edit, and I'll check back in with you guys in a few.
Everybody give it up for Harley Flanagan that played before us. It's incredible to be standing there replaying a show among so many great artists. Everybody for Incendiary and Trapped Under Ice playing after us, please. So many great artists. Everybody for Incendiary and Trapped Under Ice playing after us, please. Everybody give it up for Harley Flanagan that played before us. It's incredible to be standing there replaying a show among so many great artists. Everybody for Incendiary and Trapped Under Ice playing after us, please. Yes, please. I just moved to this state and I just moved to this state and the weather change has me a little bit sick, so pardon that. If you can help me out in any way, I very much appreciate it. Y'all have been wonderful so far. I very much appreciate it. Y'all have been wonderful so far. Wonderful so far. thinner at the waistline. I feel thinner at the waistline. I feel thinner at the waistline. I feel thinner at the waistline. I'm getting old in the face every day. There's another new line, new line. New line. Thinner at the waistline. I feel thinner at the waistline. I'm getting old in the face every day. There's another new line. You're looking better, are you alright? You're looking better, are you alright? Yeah, I'm just busy all of the time. I'm just a little more tired every day. I really don't know why. I'm just so far. I feel so far away. I'm just so far. I feel so far. I feel so far. I feel so far away. I'm just so far away. I'm just so far. I feel so far away. I'm just so far. I feel so far.
All right, we're almost at the 18-minute mark. That one was a little tricky. There were a couple cuts that I made originally that I didn't like, and I wasn't sure the best way to swap them out. So that's why I was sort of stopping and rewinding and trying it over and over again. But I think I got to a point where I'm happy with it. Looks like Dominic signed off. Unfortunately, it was good to have you in here. Thanks for tuning in. If anyone was curious, I'm actually drinking some cinnamon apple tea that has gone cold. So there you go. Yes, I do have the Trapped Under Ice footage from Sound and Fury, and I'm really excited to work on that. So that should be one of the next ones I'll be working on. So stay tuned for that. I'll do a live stream of that one as well. Cool. We're still hovering at 11 people. So I guess that's it. That's probably what we're gonna get for this one, but that's cool. I'm not gonna complain. Better than no one. How is everyone doing? Seems like a couple people are like pretty engaged, asking questions, having fun. Hopefully it's useful. All I care about is that it's useful or it's entertaining. If I need to start like singing and dancing, maybe I'll do that. But for now, I'm gonna just like keep doing this. So again, we're at the almost at the 18-minute mark. So we have just about 10 minutes left on this set. And like I said, we're usually the second half goes by much faster than the first half. So how do I obtain such godlike facial hair? That's a good question. So I actually trimmed this beard last night. So I've had a beard. I've had some incarnation of a beard for many years. I haven't been clean shaven since like 2014, maybe. But I do trim it. The longest it's ever been is maybe down to like here. And my mom was about to kill me, so I decided to keep it. Actually, I might have a picture of me before and after. If anyone's curious, I might have a picture of me before and after what I look like with a beard. Because I pulled one up recently and I could not believe how I looked without a beard. Let me find that real quick. I'm like digging through. It's like buried in social media somewhere. Let's see. I remember I did a side by side. Where are we at? Fuck. I swear it'll pay off. I know it like this wait is kind of annoying, but once I find it, I think you'll find it pretty funny. Damn, where did I post it? Oh, here we go. Okay. All right, so this is me without a beard with like a little bit of like 5 o'clock shadow. I've always had like at least a little bit of stubble, and then I'll show it in a second. And then on the right is basically me at maximum beard length, and I look like a fucking clown. But here's what we're looking at. Hold on, let me. Image address. All right, here you go. That's me before and after a beard. So left was probably like 2011-ish, and on the right was maybe 2012 or 13. And again, like full length used to be down to here, and I've sort of like kept it much shorter. But that's what I used to look like. That's what I look like without a beard. If you look at like some old This Is Hardcore photos, you'll see me without a beard too. So there's like, let me find another one. Somewhere. I just passed it. It's somewhere here. Where did it go? Wait, I know where it went. So this was probably this is hardcore 2012, 13. Here we go. No. Yeah, so that's me at This Is Hardcore 1 year. Again, with just a little bit of facial hair. So yeah, I look completely different. My mom hates this. She does not like what's going on with this. So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should go back to having no beard, but I don't know. Actually, oh, so Dominic just found me on Facebook. So let me add him real quick. Cool. Anyway, hopefully you guys found that entertaining. Before and after. Yeah. So maybe I'll bring the beard back. Maybe I'll bring the full beard back. Maybe I'll go back clean shaven. I don't know. I was not a popular person at the airport. I'm still not a popular person at the airport, but when I had full-length beard, I was definitely not a popular person at the airport. But even this is not popular. But that's sort of I love the beards. I also know a pair of Cost Porter Pro in your. Yes, that is a good observation. Do I still have the picture up? Shit, no, I closed it. So yes, those were a pair of Cost Porta Pros. If you're not familiar, Cost has I think they still make it. It's a really great. Actually, I liked it. I don't know how people feel about it, but they made these headphones that were like collapsible and they were like cool looking, and so yeah, I broke mine, and they had like a lifetime warranty, and I broke mine, and I forgot to send them back in. So if I can dig them up, maybe I'll do it. Don't shave until the Bane set is released. That is a good that's a good dare. So basically, I'm never gonna shave again because it's. So for those of you who don't know, I'm not allowed to release the last Bane show until the documentary is done. So another team is working on a documentary on Bane, and I've been asked to not release the last set until the documentary is done. So unfortunately, my hands are tied with it. As soon as I get the go ahead, I might do a live stream. It's a 2-hour long set, so that's gonna take me that might take me at least a week to edit, I think, because I'm not gonna want to sit there for 2 hours straight. I'm gonna want to do it in chunks, and then I'm gonna want to revise it in chunks. So that's gonna be a very, very long project, but that will be a live stream probably, or maybe not. Maybe I should just surprise everyone with like the full thing and not have any behind the scenes. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. But anyway, that'll come out pretty much whenever I'm allowed to post it. So as Jeff noted, we may be waiting a long time. So by the time that comes out, I may have a beard that's like down to my fucking feet. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, let's keep going. I gotta bounce in a little bit. I gotta run back to my dad's house in Jersey for a little bit. So and run some errands, but I do want to finish this. So let's plow through the last like 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. What's up, sick boy? Yeah, so Jeff, yeah, I could probably retire if I do a Patreon only edit. So sick boy's asking what song this is by Turnover. I don't know, but we can probably figure it out. So give me 1 sec. Whoa. All right, I think it's Dizzy on the come down. Let's see. Yeah. All right, so I think this is it. So here's how I figured it out. I don't know any Turnover songs, to be completely frank. So what I did was, it looks like a bunch of people have already responded. I literally just I listened to the lyric in the live recording and I Googled it. I Googled what did I search for? I searched for Turnover, change your routine. So that's my trick with finding a name of a song. I try to I listen for like a lyric and then I Google it and it works out pretty well. So there you go. But looks like we got a bunch of people. Marcus and Chicken Nugget already beat me to the punch. So that's the cool thing about this live stream is people can chime in and help each other out. What's up, Julian? Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you got your Patreon sticker. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. Let's keep going.
Hold my hand, you can follow my lead. You like relax, take the lightning falling, catch your breath. I know you feel the ring from it all, so try and relax yourself now. It's just that you fall and come down. You ask me, how do you feel when you're away? And you ask me when you how do you feel when you're away? And you how do you feel when you're away? And you ask me, how do you pass the day? 'Cause I can still remember when you were afraid of the dark and I told you to come. And you fought for where I asked you to go. You to go. Would you come and stay with me? I've been dying to get to you. Run away and send me back, so I can make you feel like you again. Would you come and stay with me? I've been dying to get to you. Find a way and send me back, so I can make you feel like you again.
All right, we're at the home stretch. We're at the 23-minute mark, so there's probably like one or two maybe songs left. Let me see. Looks like maybe one, maybe two. Anyway, we got a couple minutes left. Just going through the chat here. What do we got? I guess Alex isn't logged in anymore, but thanks for coming in and listening in. It seems like people are into this live stream, so I'm probably gonna keep doing it. So until I flatline with a bunch of zero people watching, I'm gonna keep going. I was wondering how many sets you watched. Marcus is asking how many sets I've watched. That's a good question. I mean, so there's let's see. I can tell you an exact number of. So there are 2,645 videos on hate5six. So I've watched at least that many. I've definitely have watched hundreds of others, whether it's Feet First Productions videos or Max Volume Silence live videos. I watch a lot of live footage of bands. If it's not mine, I watch someone else's. So I've watched a lot. Hopefully that answers your question. What do I think of Gag? I think Gag is amazing. I've only seen them 2 or 3 times, and super high energy. And I love. I mean, theatrics aside, like I know the dude got naked at a show and it was like pretty ridiculous. But that aside, they put on a really high energy set, and that's always fun to shoot. Juan, thank you so much for the kind words. Sick Boy, thank you as well. Oh shit! So Jackson, I had no idea you were in Australia. That's intense. It's 4 a.m. there. That's crazy. Later on, Sick Boy, thanks for tuning in. But yeah, so I think so these videos should get archived on the channel when they're done. But so if you don't want to stay up till 4 a.m., that's cool. But I appreciate you hanging in there for the long haul. It's cool. It's really cool to see. So let's keep going. Again, we got the last 4 minutes left. And again, this was a pretty cool set. I wish I was there to see it live, but it's at least nice to watch it through Chris's lens and through Robert and Jonathan and everyone else who helped film. It's cool to watch the set through their eyes. So let's keep going and let's wrap it up.
Thank you very much. Cindy is next, so at the same time as you say that. Thank you.
Cool. So that's it. We finished the set. This took like, I don't know, 2 hours. I think I started around like 11, 12. I don't remember. It's been a couple hours at least. So that's basically it. The final steps that I'm going to do, I'm not going to do it on the live stream because I got to bounce, but I need to do some color correction, just a little bit, because all 4 cameras are different. So they all have slightly different color profiles. So I do want to adjust the color a little bit, just so they match a little bit better. And that's basically it. So once I do that, I'm going to add in this little intro video that I made for Chris, and then add in the fade in logo, then add in the video, and then add in a fade out, and then we're good to go. So that's it. Just anything quick here. Oh, so Juan's asking how many cameras. So for this set, there were 4 cameras. For a lot of the other bands that Chris shot at Sound and Fury, there were 5. So he had, let me pull it up for you. So he had stage left, which is this top left one. He had this stationary camera in the back of the room. He had stage right, which is this bottom right one or bottom left one, and then he had someone operating a camera from the balcony. And then for some bands, he also had a GoPro on the drummer. So if you watch the Harley Flanagan video that I posted, and I think also the free video, there are cool shots of the drummer from a GoPro that's mounted on there. So yeah, most of these videos are going to be between 4 and 5 angles, I think. Anyway, I'm going to bounce. This should be up tomorrow. I gotta run, but I'm gonna hopefully finish this tonight, and so hopefully tomorrow this should be up. But thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't hit subscribe, make sure you click the subscribe button. I'm gonna try to do live streams every day. If I can do it every day, I will. But if not, it'll be like every other day or something like that. But I'm hoping to get into a routine. It might be around the same time. I'm not sure. We'll see what works, what doesn't work. But I'm glad everyone tuned in. So I will see you guys soon. And like I said, thanks again for subscribing on Patreon and following me and all that shit. So be well, and I'll talk to you guys soon.